In the quiet darkness of space, the spaceship Eclipse Blade floated silently through an unknown area. Captain Ryan Carter sat in his chair on the bridge, his sharp eyes watching the screens in front of him. The crew had been traveling for days, searching for anything unusual or signs of life. So far, they had found nothing but endless stars and empty space, but that was about to change. Lieutenant Grace Monroe, sitting at her station near the front of the bridge, suddenly sat up straight. Her fingers moved quickly over her console as she adjusted the ship's sensors. "Captain," she said, her voice calm but excited, "I'm picking up a signal." Ryan turned to look at her. "What kind of signal?" he asked, leaning forward slightly. "It's faint, but it's definitely not natural," Grace replied. She paused, studying the data on her screen. "It's repeating itself, a distress call. Someone out there is asking for help." The bridge fell silent for a moment. Everyone knew what this could mean. Humanity had only recently started exploring deep space, and meeting another intelligent species was both exciting and scary. Ryan glanced at Commander Alex Hart, who stood nearby with his arms crossed. Alex raised an eyebrow, silently asking if Ryan thought this was real. "Can you trace where it's coming from?" Ryan asked, turning back to Grace. She nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. "It's coming from a star system not too far from here, but there's interference. It'll take some time to find the exact location." While Grace worked, Ryan stood up and walked over to the main view screen. He stared at the swirling patterns of stars and nebulae displayed there. Something about this felt different. Most signals they encountered were random bursts of energy or echoes from long-dead civilizations. This one, though, it felt urgent, almost personal. Finally, Grace spoke up. "Got it, Captain. The signal originates from a planet orbiting a red dwarf star. It's on the edge of this sector." She hesitated before adding, "But there's something else. The language, it's not human. And it's not anything we've seen before." Ryan frowned. That wasn't entirely unexpected. If this really was an alien message, it made sense that they wouldn't understand it right away. Still, it added another layer of mystery. "Play it for me," he said. Grace tapped a few buttons, and the bridge speakers came alive with a strange sound. It was a series of clicks, whistles, and low tones, followed by a phrase that repeated over and over. Though none of them could understand the words, the tone was clear: desperation. "Help us, invasion, dying." Grace translated after running the audio through the ship's translation software. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to send a chill down everyone's spines. Ryan looked around the room. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. They had trained for situations like this, but no simulation could prepare them for the real thing. Finally, he gave a nod. "Set a course for the origin of the signal. Let's find out who, or what, is sending it." As the Eclipse Blade changed direction and sped toward the mysterious planet, tension filled the air. No one knew what they would find when they arrived. Was it a trap? A cry for help from survivors? Or something far more dangerous? Whatever it was, Ryan knew one thing for certain: they couldn't ignore it. The Eclipse Blade arrived at the mysterious planet a few hours later. It was a small, barren world with a dim red sun hanging low in the sky. The surface was covered in jagged rocks and deep craters, making it look like a place that had been forgotten by time. As the ship entered the atmosphere, the crew noticed strange shapes scattered across the ground. Ruins of buildings, crumbling and overgrown with alien plants. Captain Ryan Carter ordered a landing party to investigate. He chose Lieutenant Grace Monroe, Commander Alex Hart, and Medic Samantha Cole to join him. Armed with pulse rifles and scanning devices, they stepped onto the planet's surface. The air was thick and smelled strange, but their suits protected them from the environment. The ground beneath their boots was rough and uneven, and every step kicked up clouds of gray dust. They moved cautiously toward one of the largest ruins. Its walls were cracked and covered in symbols carved into the stone. Inside, The space was dark and cold. Grace activated her flashlight, and the beam revealed faded murals on the walls. The pictures showed humanoid figures fighting against monstrous creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes. At the center of the room stood a glowing crystal, pulsing faintly with light. It was the source of the distress signal. "This must be it," Ryan said, stepping closer to the crystal. "Grace, can you analyze it?" Grace knelt down and pulled out a handheld scanner. She ran it over the crystal, her brow furrowing as she studied the readings. "It's some kind of communication device," she said, "but it's more advanced than anything we've seen before." Before anyone could say more, a low growl echoed through the chamber. Everyone froze, their flashlights sweeping across the room. From the shadows emerged hulking, insect-like creatures. They had armored bodies, razor-sharp claws, and too many legs to count. Their glowing eyes locked onto the humans, and they began to move closer. "Back to the ship," Ryan shouted, raising his rifle. The team fired at the creatures as they retreated, the bright bursts of energy lighting up the dark room. The creatures screeched and lunged, forcing the group to dodge and weave through the ruins. Samantha stumbled over a rock, but Alex quickly grabbed her arm and pulled her back to her feet. They ran as fast as they could, the creatures hot on their heels. When they finally reached the ship, Ryan slammed his hand on the control panel to open the hatch. The team scrambled inside, and the door sealed shut behind them just as the creatures reached it. Panting and shaken, they removed their helmets and stared at each other. "What were those things?" Samantha asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Ryan replied, shaking his head. "But they weren't alone. Someone, or something, drove them here. We need answers." Grace held up the crystal, which she had managed to grab during the chaos. "This might hold the key," she said. "If we can decode it, we might learn who sent the signal. And why." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. Whatever secrets this crystal held, they couldn't ignore them. But he knew one thing for sure. Their mission was far from over. Back aboard the Eclipse Blade Asterisk, the crew gathered in the ship's main lab to study the glowing crystal. Lieutenant Grace Monroe worked tirelessly at her station, connecting the alien device to the ship's computers. The crystal pulsed faintly, its light flickering like a heartbeat as data streamed across the monitors. Everyone watched intently, their faces lit by the soft glow of the screens. "It's more than just a distress signal," Grace said after a while. Her voice was calm, but full of wonder. "There are coordinates embedded in it, directions to another location." Captain Ryan Carter leaned forward, his arms crossed. "Another location? You mean whoever sent this wants us to go somewhere else?" Grace nodded. "It looks that way. These coordinates lead to a different star system. Maybe they're calling for help from multiple places." Commander Alex Hart frowned. "Or maybe it's a trap. We can't just jump into unknown space without knowing what's waiting for us." Ryan thought for a moment. He knew Alex had a point, but something about the message felt too urgent to ignore. "We'll proceed carefully," he said finally. "But we're not turning back now. If there's even a chance someone out there needs our help, we have to try." Before they could decide their next move, the ship's alarms blared suddenly. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge as the sensors detected a massive object approaching. Everyone rushed to their stations, bracing for the worst. Was it another attack? Had the insect-like creatures followed them? On the view screen, a fleet of ships appeared, dropping out of hyperspace directly ahead of them. The vessels were sleek and angular, unlike anything the crew had ever seen. For a tense moment, no one spoke. The silence was broken when one of the ships sent a communication signal. A holographic image appeared on the screen, revealing an alien woman with sharp features and piercing eyes. She wore a regal-looking uniform, and her expression was calm but serious. "I am Zara Voss, leader of the Caliph Alliance," she said in clear, accented English. "We intercepted your presence here and wish to speak with you." Ryan exchanged glances with Alex before stepping closer to the screen. I'm Captain Ryan Carter of the Eclipse Blade *. What do you want? Zora's gaze softened slightly. We received the same distress signal you did. Our scans show you've recovered the device. We believe it belongs to the Larithians, a species nearly wiped out by a dangerous enemy. We've been searching for survivors for months. The room fell silent as the crew processed this information. Grace spoke up first. If you know about the signal, then you must know where it's leading. Will you share that with us? Zara hesitated, then nodded. We will, but only if you agree to work with us. The threat facing the Larithians is greater than any of us can handle alone. Ryan glanced at his team. They all seemed uneasy, but no one objected. He turned back to Zora. We'll join forces, for now. But if this turns out to be a mistake, we'll leave. Zara gave a small smile. Fair enough. Set a course for these coordinates. She transmitted the data to the Eclipse Blade systems. Together, we may yet save those who remain. As the transmission ended, Ryan addressed his crew. Get ready. Whatever's waiting for us, we'll face it together. For the first time since finding the crystal, the crew felt a glimmer of hope. They weren't alone anymore. With the Caliph fleet alongside them, they set off toward the new destination, determined to uncover the truth behind the mysterious message, and perhaps find allies against whatever horrors lay ahead. The journey to the new coordinates led the Eclipse Blade and the Caliph fleet to a harsh, unforgiving planet called Scytherus. It was a death world, covered in jagged mountains, toxic swamps, and forests filled with glowing carnivorous plants. The air shimmered with heat, and strange guttural sounds echoed through the landscape. Every step felt dangerous, as if the planet itself was alive and hostile. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, studying the view screen as the ship descended toward the surface. This place doesn't look friendly, he muttered under his breath. Lieutenant Grace Monroe nodded in agreement, her fingers flying over the console to scan for signs of life. Commander Alex Hart and Medic Samantha Cole prepared the landing party, checking their equipment one last time. Zora Voss's voice crackled over the comms. Our scans show faint energy readings near the equator. That's where we'll begin our search. Her tone was firm but calm, and Ryan couldn't help but feel a sense of reassurance knowing they weren't alone in this. The two teams, human and Caliph, split into smaller groups and ventured onto the surface. The ground beneath their boots was uneven and sharp, forcing them to move carefully. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, watching silently before darting away. The air smelled acidic, and even with their suits' filters, it made everyone uneasy. After hours of searching, Samantha stumbled upon something unexpected. While examining a cluster of glowing mushrooms, she noticed a narrow crack in the ground. Curious, she knelt down and peered inside. To her surprise, she saw what looked like a metal hatch partially buried under dirt and rocks. Over here, she called out, waving the others over. Ryan and Alex hurried to her side, followed by a group of Caliph soldiers. Together, they cleared away the debris and pried the hatch open. A set of rusty stairs led down into darkness. Drawing their weapons, the team descended cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. At the bottom, they found themselves in a large underground bunker. The walls were lined with alien technology, much of it damaged or inactive. In the center of the room, a group of frail, pale-skinned aliens huddled together. Their eyes widened in fear at the sight of the newcomers, but when Zara stepped forward and spoke in their language, they visibly relaxed. One of the aliens, an older male with deep-set eyes, introduced himself as Elder Minar. His voice was weak but carried a tone of authority. Through Grace's translation device, he explained that they were Larithians, the creators of the distress signal. Their homeworld had been overrun by parasitic invaders called the Vorith, who consumed entire civilizations to breed and spread. Minar pleaded for help, explaining that the Vorith were relentless and growing stronger every day. If you don't stop them, he warned. They will destroy everything in their path, including your worlds. Ryan exchanged a glance with Alex. This mission had just become far more urgent. As they listened to Minar's story, Samantha tended to the wounded Larithians, earning their trust with her kindness. Meanwhile, Grace worked to extract data from the bunker's computers, hoping to find information about the Vorath's weaknesses. By the time they returned to the ships, the crew felt a mix of dread and determination. They now knew the stakes and the enemy they were up against, but they also had allies, the Larithians, who promised to share their knowledge, and the Caliph fleet, whose advanced technology might give them an edge. As the Eclipse Blade prepared to leave Scytheris, Ryan addressed his team. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us," he said, "but if we stick together, we can fight back. This isn't just about saving the Larithians. It's about protecting everyone." With renewed purpose, the fleet set a course for the next stage of their mission. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready to face it head-on. With the Larithians' guidance, the combined fleet began preparing for a massive assault against the Vorath. The aliens had provided detailed maps of the invaders' primary hive, located on a distant moon surrounded by jagged asteroid fields. According to Elder Minar, this hive was the heart of the Vorath's operations, a fortress teeming with bioengineered drones and monstrous warrior forms. Captain Ryan Carter called a meeting in the Eclipse Blade briefing room. Alongside Commander Alex Hart, Lieutenant Grace Monroe, and Medic Samantha Cole, he gathered key members of the crew to discuss their strategy. Zara Voss and her advisors joined via holographic transmission, their expressions serious but determined. "This isn't going to be easy," Ryan began, pointing at a holographic display of the target moon. "The hive is heavily guarded, and the terrain around it is treacherous. But if we can destroy the hive mind controlling the Vorath, we might stand a chance." Grace stepped forward, holding a data tablet. The Larithians shared intel about the Vorath's weaknesses. Their central queen, the hive mind, is vulnerable during reproduction cycles. If we time our attack right, we can hit them when they're least prepared. Alex nodded, adding, "We'll need to split into 2 teams. One will focus on disabling the outer defenses, while the other infiltrates the hive to reach the queen. Speed and precision are critical." Zara spoke up, her voice steady. "My ships will handle the distraction. We'll draw their attention away from your team so you can move in undetected." She paused, then added, "But remember, this mission is dangerous. Every second counts." As the meeting ended, the crew sprang into action. Back on the bridge, Ryan addressed the entire ship. "This fight isn't just for the Larithians. It's for every living being in the galaxy. We've trained for moments like this. Now it's time to prove what we're made of." In the hours leading up to the attack, tensions ran high. Samantha worked tirelessly in the med bay, stocking supplies and reviewing emergency procedures. Grace stayed in the lab, analyzing the Larithians' data and fine-tuning the ship's systems. Meanwhile, Alex oversaw combat drills, ensuring everyone knew their roles. When the fleet arrived at the target moon, the scene was chaotic. Swarms of insect-like drones patrolled the skies, and enormous spires jutted out from the surface, pulsating with eerie green light. The air crackled with energy, and the ground seemed alive, shifting and writhing beneath their feet. The operation began under cover of darkness. Stealth fighters launched from the Caliph ships, targeting the hive's outer defenses. Explosions lit up the horizon as turrets were disabled and barricades crumbled. On the ground, Ryan led the infiltration team through narrow tunnels carved into the moon's crust. The walls oozed with viscous fluid, and the stench of decay filled the air. Every step deeper into the hive brought new horrors. Hulking Vorath warriors lurked in shadowy corners, their claws dripping with venom. Smaller drones scuttled along the ceiling, ready to ambush intruders. The team fought their way forward, relying on quick reflexes and teamwork to survive. As they neared the core chamber, the environment grew more grotesque. The walls pulsed like veins, and the floor squelched underfoot. A deep guttural growl echoed ahead, sending shivers down everyone's spines. They had reached the lair of the Hive Queen. Ryan signaled for silence as they approached. Through a gap in the wall, they saw her, a towering monstrosity covered in organic armor, her body bristling with spikes and tendrils. She emitted a low hum, her movements slow and deliberate as she prepared to birth new warriors. "We only get one shot at this," Ryan whispered. He handed explosives to Alex and Grace, who moved to plant charges near the Queen's thorax. Samantha kept watch, her rifle aimed at any threats that might emerge. Time seemed to slow as the team executed their plan. Just as the Queen turned toward them, sensing danger, the charges detonated. The explosion rocked the chamber, sending chunks of flesh and debris flying everywhere. The Queen let out an ear-splitting shriek before collapsing, lifeless. But their victory came at a cost. The hive began collapsing around them, walls crumbling and tunnels collapsing. With seconds to spare, the team sprinted back toward the surface, dodging falling debris and swarms of enraged drones. When they finally emerged into the open air, battered but alive, relief washed over them. The Caliph fleet provided cover fire as they boarded their ships and escaped the moon's orbit. Though exhausted, they knew they had dealt a crippling blow to the Vorath. As the fleet regrouped in space, Ryan looked at his crew. They had faced unimaginable dangers and come out stronger, but he also knew this was just the beginning. The fight wasn't over, not yet. The explosion that destroyed the Vorath Queen sent shockwaves through the hive, causing its massive structure to collapse in on itself. The ground shook violently as tunnels caved in and spires crumbled into dust. Ryan Carter and his team sprinted through the chaos, their breaths ragged and their hearts pounding. Every step felt like a race against time, the walls closing in around them. Behind them, the air was filled with screeches and growls as surviving Vorath warriors gave chase. Their glowing eyes reflected hatred, and their claws tore at the crumbling walls in their desperation to reach the intruders. Samantha Cole tripped over a chunk of debris, but quickly scrambled back to her feet, thanks to Alex Hart grabbing her arm and pulling her along. "Keep moving," Ryan shouted over the noise, urging everyone forward. Finally, they reached the exit, a jagged opening leading out to the surface. The cold light of the moon greeted them as they burst free from the collapsing hive. But the danger wasn't over yet. Swarms of Vorath drones circled above, drawn by the destruction below. Gunfire erupted as Caliph fighters swooped in, providing cover for the fleeing humans. Bright beams of energy lit up the sky as the alien ships engaged the drones, giving Ryan's team a chance to reach their shuttle. Grace Monroe was the first to climb aboard, frantically working the controls to power up the engines. "Hurry," she yelled, glancing back at her teammates still running toward the ship. One by one, they boarded, diving inside just as the last drone exploded mere feet away. The shuttle lifted off seconds later, shaking violently as it descended through the moon's turbulent atmosphere. As they broke free into space, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but only briefly. On the view screen, they watched as the remains of the hive imploded, sending plumes of smoke and ash billowing into the air. It was a victory, but a costly one. Several Caliph ships had been damaged during the battle, and there were casualties among both fleets. Back aboard the Eclipse Blade Asterisk, Ryan gathered his team in the briefing room. Everyone looked worn out, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. Samantha tended to minor injuries while Grace reviewed data collected during the mission. Despite their exhaustion, there was a sense of accomplishment in the air. "We did it," Alex said, breaking the silence. His voice was steady but carried a note of disbelief. "The Queen is gone. Without her, the Vorath will struggle to regroup." Ryan nodded, though his expression remained serious. "For now, yes, but we can't assume this is over. The Lyrithians warned us. The Vorath are resilient. If even a fragment of the hive survives, they could rebuild." Zara Voss appeared on the main screen, her face showing signs of fatigue, but also pride. "You've done what many thought impossible," she said. "The Caliph Alliance owes you a debt of gratitude. Together, we've struck a blow against a common enemy." Elder Minar joined the transmission, his frail form leaning heavily on a cane. His voice trembled with emotion. "You have given my people hope," he said. "We will rebuild our society and honor your bravery. But remember, the fight for peace is never truly finished." Ryan glanced at his crew. They had faced unimaginable dangers and emerged victorious. But they all knew this was just one battle in a larger war. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and alliances like the one with the Caliph would be crucial moving forward. As the meeting ended, Ryan walked to the bridge and stared out at the stars. He felt a mix of pride and responsibility. The Vorath had been weakened, but somewhere out there, other threats loomed. For now, though, they had protected countless lives, including their own. And sometimes, that was enough. The Eclipse Blade turned toward home, its journey far from over, but marked by courage and unity. The Eclipse Blade and the Caliph fleet drifted silently in space, their crews taking a moment to recover from the intense battle. The destruction of the Vorath Queen had been a monumental victory, but it came at a cost. Damaged ships floated nearby, their hulls scarred from the fight. Medics worked tirelessly to treat the wounded, while engineers scrambled to repair critical systems. Despite the losses, there was a sense of triumph aboard every vessel. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, watching as the stars twinkled beyond the viewscreen. His mind replayed the events of the past days. The desperate SOS signal, the eerie ruins on the alien planet, the horrifying encounter with the Vorath, and finally, the explosive showdown on the moon. It had been a whirlwind of danger and discovery, and humanity had proven itself capable of standing alongside advanced species like the Caliph. Zara Voss contacted the Eclipse Blade one last time before parting ways. Her holographic image appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but warm. "You've earned our trust and respect," she said. "The Caliph Alliance would be honored to call you allies. Together, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead." Ryan nodded, gratitude evident in his voice. "We're proud to stand with you. Humanity is still learning its place in the galaxy, but missions like this remind us that we're stronger when we work together." With that, the Caliph fleet initiated their departure, disappearing into the vastness of space. Their sleek ships glowed briefly as they entered hyperspace, leaving the Eclipse Blade alone in the quiet void. For a moment, Ryan felt a pang of loneliness, but it quickly faded. They had made powerful friends, and that connection would shape humanity's future among the stars. Back on board, Lieutenant Grace Monroe analyzed data from the mission, ensuring no traces of the Vorath remained active. Samantha Cole tended to the last of the injured crew members, her gentle hands offering comfort after the chaos. Commander Alex Hart oversaw repairs, making sure the ship was ready for whatever came next. Everyone played their part, knowing they had accomplished something extraordinary. As the Eclipse Blade began its journey home, Ryan addressed the entire crew over the ship's intercom. "This mission tested us in ways we never imagined," he said, his voice steady and firm. "We faced an enemy unlike any we've encountered before, and we stood our ground. But more importantly, we showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of: courage, resilience, and compassion." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The Lyrithians are safe because of your efforts. The Caliph now see us as equals. And though the Vorath may not be gone forever, we've dealt them a blow they won't soon recover from. Be proud of what you've done." A cheer erupted across the ship, echoing through the corridors. For many, it was their first real taste of galactic exploration, and it had been unforgettable. When the Eclipse Blade finally approached Earth's orbit, the sight of their blue planet brought tears to some eyes. Home had never looked so beautiful. As the ship docked, reporters and officials gathered eagerly to hear about the mission. The story of the alien SOS, The alliance with the Caliph and the defeat of the Vorath spread quickly, inspiring millions. In the weeks that followed, life slowly returned to normal for the crew. Samantha resumed her duties as a medic. Grace continued her research into alien technology, and Alex trained new recruits using lessons learned from the mission. Ryan spent hours writing reports, but he also found time to reflect on how much had changed. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, proving it could hold its own against even the deadliest threats. The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but Ryan knew one thing for sure. They weren't alone anymore. Allies waited among the stars, and dangers lurked in the dark. But together, they could face anything. As Ryan gazed up at the night sky, he smiled. Somewhere out there, countless worlds awaited exploration, and countless stories remained untold. Whatever came next, humanity was ready.